Hi, my name is Amy Preddy, and this is my evolution of romantic comedies. Romantic comedies start out with a plot, normally between a man and a woman. There is always some kind of conflict between the two. A story usually with an interesting beginning, an argument, some kind of obstacle that pulls them apart, keeping them from one another. But in the end, eventually, some way, somehow, they eventually reunite and come together. Romance in the movies definitely reflect the era in which they were made. In The Cameraman, made in 1928, directed by Edward Sedgwick, Buster Keaton tries to impress a pretty office worker in MJM. The pretty office worker is Sally, played by Marshall Day. In 1938, we have Bringing Up Baby, directed by Howard Hawks, with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. And Madcap Harris, played by Katharine Hepburn with a pet leopard named Baby, is vying for the love of an absent-minded paleontologist, Cary Grant, who is trying to finish an exhibit of dinosaurs to get a $1 million grant for his museum. In the 1940s, romantic comedies were filled with strong heroines and the helpless men that they loved. The Philadelphia Astoria, made in the 1940s, stars Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn and James Stewart, directed by George Cukor. A lovely film about winning back the love that was lost. Red, played by Hepburn, is on the verge of marrying her second husband when Grant, her ex-husband, decides he wants to win her back. Meanwhile, he tries to play interference with a reporter who also has fallen in love with her as well. In 1953, we have Roman Holiday, directed by William Wyler, with Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. A crown princess, played by Hepburn, takes off on her own in Rome after she was given a sedative by her doctor to help her relax. She is discovered by Joe Bradley, played by Gregory Peck, an American reporter who doesn't recognize her at first. When he does finally recognize her, he makes a bet with his editor for $500 that he can get an interview with her. A movie about romance, comedy, betrayal, and a newfound consciousness. In the 1960s, we had The Apartment, directed by Billy Wilder with Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine, a movie about the right and wrong way to handle an office romance. In 1961, we had The Parent Trap, directed by David Swift, a movie where the same actress, Hayley Mills, plays both twins and, unknown to the divorced parents, reunite, plotting and conceiving, and plan to get the parents back together. The Taming of the Shrew, in 1967, directed by Frank Zeffirelli, with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, was based on the Shakespeare play, made into a romantic comedy of a brutish man who tries to tame his wealthy, shrewish wife, played by Elizabeth Taylor. In 1977, The Goodbye Girl, directed by Herbert Ross, stars Richard Dreyfuss and Marsha Mason. Paula, played by Mason, learns she has been dumped by her married boyfriend, who sublets her apartment to Elliot, played by Richard Dreyfuss. Dreyfuss then lets her and her 10-year-old daughter Lucy stay in the apartment, even though Paula lets him know she doesn't like him. Despite frequent obstacles and clashes between the two, they fall in love and sleep together anyways. In 1988, we have Bull Durham, directed by Ron Shelton, starring Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon, a sports romance comedy. When Harry Met Sally came in 1989, directed by Rob Reiner, starring Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. This is a story of two people who have been friends for years, but fear sex would ruin their friendship. Yet romance was bound to happen, and does. Then the two are faced with the conflict: can a man and a woman be friends without sex getting in the way? From the 1920s to the present, romantic comedies have been pulling at our heartstrings, making us laugh and cry, rooting for happy endings over and over, even if they don't oblige. The romantic comedy genre, as you can see, is timeless. While often repetitive, it constantly complements each other throughout time, leaving us wanting and waiting for more.